I think that the two relate to what you're saying is that we're being captured. Again, I think my generation more than others with this dopamine addiction where we can't really see long term. Even when I'm young, I can't envision. I've always told my best friends I can't see myself when I'm 60. Like I don't
Yeah.
know how am I gonna look when I'm old? I already feel old. So
Yeah.
what the hell? So I feel that I would love to hear your perspective because you mentioned long term. So for younger people, how do we start harvesting? You've written about Naval and Balaji who really emphasize long-term thinking, but how do we harvest at this age with all of these other external factors playing at hand, which are everything should be short-term, instant gratification, likes, putting metrics over everything, and just putting away the awe in life in itself in the long journey.
There's a little bit of like a secret of life involved in that, I think. That's a big question to answer, I suppose. I think I think there's a few answers to that. There's a few different ways it'll work for different people. One of the things that I remember learning that helped me get a different sort of mindset was understanding that being youthful and impatient, like impatience is the natural state of youth.
Hmm.
And there's a reason for that. Like the reason that babies like instantly cry when they encounter something that they don't like, they have no perception that that's going to be temporary. And it's all the reactions are so extreme. And you see the same thing in teenagers. You see the same thing, like you think of yourself through every stage of that as the oldest you've ever been, as you pointed out, right? Like when you're 15, you're experiencing this problem for the first time. You feel like it'll always be that way. Like you can't imagine how it ever gets better. And at 25, you think of 15-year-olds as being like, oh my God, so like they're so emotional. They're so spiky. But like from a 35-year-old's perspective, a 25-year-old is the same way. And that person changes so much as they grow. So like understanding to a certain extent, like a little bit of just acceptance that when you only have 4 years of work life experience, you are like, oh my God, why haven't I been promoted? Why am I not making $200,000 a year already? Why am I not like, this can't stand. And you're like, remember that your career was going to be like 40, maybe 50 years long. You're not even 10% of the way into it. If it's a baseball game, the first inning is not even over. It's just that you've already experienced 100% of what you've experienced. And it's really hard to zoom out. Tactically, ways you can do that is like reading a lot of, I think reading or experiencing a lot of biographies, like listening to, if you're not a big reader, like listening to the Founders podcast, where he shows a lot of full life stories and you hear where other people were when they were 20. There's a lot of people who you're already doing much better than, not that it's a race, not that it's a comparison, but like remembering that life is long. And you will get a lot of shots at this. Hanging out with older people, befriending people who are further along in their career, who are 20 years in, and just like, they will listen to you talk and they will kind of nod knowingly about how impatient you are and be like, yeah, when I was 25, I was impatient too. Like, it's going to work out. It's going to be just fine. You're not even going to think about this week, next month. Like, relax. So I think there's a lot of lifestyle things. Like, if you're in an echo chamber of 25-year-olds who are all saying the same things and equally angsty about it, like it's very difficult to change that perspective and break out of it. The ultimate thing here is like your inputs determine your outputs. So diversifying the types of your inputs and maybe getting some of that perspective will instill the wisdom of age in you at a younger age, and it'll make it easier for you to think through, do I want to have this person in my life in 10 years, in 30 years, in 50 years? Like, I've been thinking this way now in my career for, 10 plus years, 15 years. And it's given, I now know I have many relationships that I'm like, I'm going to be hanging out with this dude. Hopefully, like, we're still doing deals when we're 70 and we're just like old codgers, like calling each other, still trying to like make stuff work. If the world isn't just run by robots by then or whatever. So thinking in those terms and starting as early as you can and just getting away from short-termism starting those long-term compounding like relationships and crafts and skills matters a lot. And finding the right things to be impatient about, I think the best line in all of Naval is maybe like impatience for action, patience for results.
Yep.
Like I repeat that to myself constantly. Tattoo it on your eyelids. It is that advice is almost unconditionally correct.